Hello and welcome to the No Fear podcast. Today, Ophir and I sit down with Bryce Alsten, Vice President of Operations for Popl, a digital business card solution. Join us as we dive into Bryce's journey from mechanical engineering student at the University of Florida to Vice President of a Y Combinator-backed startup. Please enjoy.
Welcome to the No Fear podcast with your hosts, Noah and Ophir, where we sit down to discuss the journeys of accomplished young professionals who have taken action towards manifesting a career and a life that go far beyond the ordinary. Each week, we bring to you a young professional currently achieving success in entrepreneurship, STEM or other forward-thinking, innovative sectors. Please enjoy today's episode of the No Fear podcast, brought to you by House & Hughes, shophouseandhughes.com, the perfect destination for thousands of curated wall art designs.
What's going on, Bryce? Thanks for joining us today.
What's up, boys? Thank you for having me. Very excited to be here. As always, you guys are amazing, so I'm excited to see what we get into today.
I'd just love to jump into a little bit how you got to where you are at Popl, a little bit about what Popl does, and just your experience going from a mechanical engineering grad to trying out corporate America and then really reaching your entrepreneurship goals and everything that you're doing now.
The journey always reminds me of the Steve Jobs quote from his famous commencement speech, where in any given moment, it's not clear how what you're doing right now is going to lead to the next thing and how it's all going to pan out and work together. But when you look back, all the dots connect and everything just makes sense, that this led to this, that led to that. But 2017, graduated with a mechanical engineering degree from UF, didn't really have a plan of what I was going to do, and got a job working for a company called King of Fans that manufactured all of the outdoor lighting and ceiling fans for Home Depot and Lowe's. And it was a pretty cool opportunity that I didn't expect to have. Within a few months of graduation, I was flying over to China every few months, learning how products are made, how they're designed, commercialized, how they're brought from overseas, put on the shelves, the procurement, the accounting, and all the facets of a business that revolves around physical products. So that was a really cool and important experience, but it didn't take long for me to realize that I didn't really want to work for someone in a traditional 9-to-5 type role. Me and a fraternity brother started our own e-commerce company designing, sourcing, and selling mobile phone accessories on Amazon, Shopify, and just kind of learned from the ground up how an e-commerce business runs. And so did that for a few years. And then in 2020, I had started my own e-commerce business and COVID hit. And this is around the time that all of the things started like coming together and the stars started aligning. And so at this time, my now good friends Jason and Nick had recently started Popl, a digital business card phone accessory at the time. Fast forward to now, it's like this enterprise software company, but at the time it was just a little e-commerce startup out of these guys' living room.
What initially drew you to them?
So Jason and Nick had recently graduated from UCLA, super social guys with a ton of followers on Instagram, and also very smart kids. Jason is a software engineer, and Nick comes from like a finance economics background. And they started posting these videos of these little devices on the back of your phone that you could tap to someone else's phone to share, like your TikTok or your Instagram. Super basic functionality at the time, but it was like this magic trick, and social media loved it. And so these videos started going absolutely viral, and I just saw one accidentally on Instagram because I'm always like following phone accessory accounts and things like that, or I was at the time. And I saw it and it just blew my mind, which that's why it went viral, because it blows people's minds. It's like this magic technology. No one's ever seen it before. And I was like, man, I got to take that tech and implant it into some of my products. So I sent a cold Instagram direct message to @Popl from my business account. And I said, hey, this is Pop Magnets. This is what we do. We design and sell phone accessories, and we'd love to have a conversation about a collaboration of putting your tech into some of our products. and ended up getting on a phone call with Jason, and we had basically instant rapport. And from there, everything just kind of snowballed. I started just like consulting and giving some advice because they hadn't really designed and sold products before. So I had an expertise that they didn't have in that particular area. And so I was able to come in, provide a lot of value, help design some of the early iterations of other Popl products like wristbands and keychains and things like that.
At that point, was Popl just purely an idea? Did it come to market at all yet? What was Popl at that point in the business?
Yeah, so at that point, Popl was basically a infant Shopify store. So they were posting videos on TikTok, not paying for any ads. The videos were getting millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions almost of views that were just driving traffic directly to the Shopify store. And so that's where the revenue was coming from early on, was these TikTok and Instagram videos were driving views to Shopify, and then they were selling these little stickers. There was no software revenue. It was purely like selling these stickers for $15 or $20 that have a little piece of tech in them that connected to a URL, a website essentially. And so you could choose what that URL shared, whether it was your Instagram, your phone number, etc. It was very primitive at the time.
And that was just purely the digital business card via that sticker on the back, basically that device on the back. Was that then a profitable business or no?
Yeah, absolutely, because there was really no cost of advertising. The guys were just really scrappy and resourceful, and this also coincided with the onset of COVID. So if you remember, TikTok kind of blew up during COVID. A lot of people were home, had nothing better to do, and just things started going viral, and a lot of TikTokers blew up at this time. And it was very much a right people in the right place at the right time kind of story, because this technology actually had existed for years prior, but it took the right people with the right vision. And also COVID created this like QR world, contactless, digital. So it was just like the perfect storm for this to really blow up. And yeah, it was just selling these little stickers that we weren't even really advertising as digital business cards at the time, because it was really focused on sharing social media and targeted at Gen Z, because that's who was watching these videos and buying the product. I'm sure we'll get into this as we go through the episode here, but the business looks very different now, and now we do call it a digital business card, but at the time it was like share your social media, get followers on Instagram.
So at the time, I know you were checked out of your 9 to 5 looking for that entrepreneurial opportunity that would take off. Were they still working their jobs out of college while pursuing this?
At the very beginning, they were both working as well. So Jason is a year older than Nick. They were best friends at UCLA. Jason was working for Boeing, the aviation company, as a software engineer.
What was he doing there?
He discovered this technology at a party one time. Someone had like this kind of very rudimentary NFC card that they tapped and shared like their email address to him, and it took off in his mind, and he like saw all the possibilities. And so that night he went home and researched what this technology was and what could be done with it. But his vision was he was basically, I guess, Gen Z. I think he falls into that category. And he's like, I would never use business cards, paper business cards. So the fact that someone tapped a card was cool, but why does it have to be a card? Why couldn't they have just tapped their phone to my phone? And so he looked into it and found that there was a limitation of the hardware that Apple allows you to tap into. But then he had the idea, what if we just put a sticker on the back of the phone? So he ordered some prototypes and went up to Nick like a week later and said, Nick, give me your phone. And he tapped it to it, and his Instagram pulled up, and Nick's eyes lit up and was like, holy like this is it. This is a business right here. And so within a year, Jason was able to quit his job, but within, I don't know, few months of that moment, they had Shopify up and running. And so Jason, I don't think he was at Boeing for more than a year before that eclipse point happened, and he was able to say, okay, it's full-time Popl. Nick was in a similar situation. He was more fresh out of school and still kind of like finding new jobs at the time, but he was able to go full-time Popl sooner. And yeah, within like a year of launching the business, it was all full-time, and I had met them at this point, and within the span of another year, I came on full-time, joined the founding team, and we all lived together and have been like building this rocket ship ever since.
What was your initial role when you came on, and what are you doing now? And what was the initial vision of Popl when you came on, and how has that changed to what it is now?
It was assisting with physical product development. So it was just these stickers for the back of the phone at the time. And then I think maybe they had come out with a keychain that you could hang on like your keys or your backpack that had this technology in it. But I thought about wristbands and phone cases and all these other like applications of the technology that could be really cool. And so the first thing I helped design was V1 of the Popl bracelet. What I'm wearing right now is like a V6. Creating products is like my bread and butter, right? So contacting China, giving instructions and requirements for what a product needs to be, getting samples made, prototyped, and then going into production. It's like I've been doing that for so long that I could do that in my sleep. And so I was able to like crank out some new products for them very quickly, and they saw value in that. But that was my initial role, and now fast forward to today, and at the time there was no title. It was just Bryce, the guy from Florida who like knows how to make products, right? Fast forward to today, I'm the vice president of operations, and so first and foremost, my biggest responsibility is to manage our supply chain. We're moving like a ton of product, physical product. Anytime we onboard a new company, these Fortune 500 companies, NBA teams, they all want custom cards generally with their logos. And so the bigger that business grows, the more products are just flowing through the pipeline, and it just gets more complex. And we've had to introduce things like ERP systems and these like scalable tools to manage large quantities of product going across the world. So first and foremost, it's supply chain management. I still do product development. We've gotten to a point where our product line is pretty mature, so I don't have to do so much of that anymore. And then I do a lot of our e-commerce backend management, so Shopify, some email and SMS marketing, so understanding marketing funnels and things like that. And then one of my favorites is business development. So one thing I'm working on right now is like working with conferences and getting Popl to power entire events and conferences through connecting people instantly, allowing attendees to exchange contact info, as well as having exhibitors and conference administrators be able to collect leads. It's gotten very complex, but anyway, point is, like at the beginning, I still wear a lot of hats. So it's been cool to see how the role has evolved, and then building teams under me as well. I've got an entire operations team at this point over in the Philippines. So it's crazy. We've got like Popl Philippines going. And yeah, that's my role in Popl. And then the other question is, how has the focus of the business changed over the years? So at the beginning, it was, let's make money by selling products to individuals, and particularly to a younger demographic. After that, we rode that wave, and TikTok was very, very good to us for a long time. But at some point, TikTok is smart. They've got one of the best algorithms in the world, and they realized that we were a business and we were profiting off of all these views. And so we started to get throttled, and the 80 million views dropped to 10 million views, dropped to 1 million views, dropped to 10,000, right? And so like we realized that we had kind of run the course when it came to milking that channel for what it was. And so that was 2020. And then in 2021, we got accepted into Y Combinator, which is the world's most prestigious tech accelerator. So some notable alumni from that program are Dropbox, Airbnb, Coinbase, Reddit, and the list goes on. They've produced more unicorns than pretty much any other incubator accelerator program in the world. And the theory of Y Combinator is find really talented, driven, hardworking founders and help them develop their skills and their business into a profitable enterprise. It's not as much about what the idea is, it's more about the actual founders. It's the bet on the jockey, not the horse mentality. And so when Popl got accepted into Y Combinator, that was maybe the biggest moment in our company's history. There's been a lot of big moments, a lot of big wins and successes, but this was huge. And so at that point, we were able to really start buckling down and applying these tried and true methods that come from Silicon Valley, tools that take people in their garages and turn them into billion-dollar companies, things that just have worked, time over time. And the main thing, there's two really takeaways from this philosophy. One is talk to your customers and iterate. Launch and iterate. So what that means is start making phone calls to your customers and ask why they're using your product and how they're getting value out of it. And also find out who's not using your product, who bought it and then stopped using it. And you're going to start to understand who is your target demographic and what really is the value that they're getting out of it. And so we quickly started to find that it wasn't the Gen Z TikTokers who bought it on a whim to share their TikTok one time. It was business professionals who were literally replacing their paper business cards with a more effective instant digital solution. And so the more we started talking to our customers, the more we realized that this was not some e-commerce fad type product. This was literally a business solution, and there was opportunity to create a software platform that powered it. And so Jason, being a software engineer, built an app. And so now you didn't need to log into a website to manage your digital business card. And when I say digital business card, I mean your physical device. Now you could download an app through the App Store for iPhone or Android and make changes in real time through that. So that was the first step. And then after that, we came out with Popl Pro, which is a paid subscription within the app. So it became a freemium model, right? So you could buy a little tag for the back of your phone, set up your digital business card, share most things for free. But if you wanted to unlock a set of advanced business features, you'd pay a monthly subscription. So we came out with Popl Pro. Then we came out with Popl Pro Plus, which is an even higher tier. And then through continuing to talk to customers, we realized that it wasn't just individuals who wanted digital business cards. There were entire organizations that were learning about this technology and realized that there's a ton of value in it, but they needed a scalable solution to be able to manage digital business cards for an entire organization, whether that's 10 people, 100 people, or 100,000 people, which we've now built the business to the point where we can take on customers that want to manage that many digital business cards for their employees. And so it developed from a direct-to-consumer physical product, sell it one time, and you have nothing else to sell that customer. That's it, right? Not a great business model. You think about Gillette, the razor model, right? You want to sell them the razor, but every month you want to sell them new blades. And so that's kind of the fundamental when it comes to SaaS, software as a subscription, is selling the service to companies month after month, year after year, and becoming so ingrained and critical to their business that they can't get rid of you, right? They have to just keep paying you because the value you provide is such that you're indispensable. And so going through that Y Combinator journey, getting guidance and advice from all of these other startups, successful founders, they took us through our seed round, and fast forward to today, we'll be raising a Series A within the foreseeable future here, and plans to just keep growing and growing, and whether that means going public or getting acquired. But it's been a crazy journey, and the business goals and the business focus have absolutely changed. It was never a big pivot. It was more of tightening the scope and getting really focused on what is profitable and what our core business needs to be.
So you've clearly demonstrated that your opportunities in Y Combinator were invaluable. What kind of doors did Y Combinator open up for you, considering the alumni it's had? I think Sam Altman is the founder of Y Combinator, if I'm correct. That's the founder of OpenAI. So obviously amazing people around that company. What kind of doors did that open for you?
Innumerable doors. So at the end of they call it cohorts, right? So there's basically 2 cohorts per year. We were the winter batch, and it's basically a 3-month boot camp where you're just meeting with your advisor every week, and you're coming up with goals and metrics. And every week you say, hey, what did we say we were going to do last week? Did we meet it? And how are we going to progress forward? And so that's kind of what the 3 months look like. At the end of that is demo day. And for us, we were unique. I believe we were the first COVID batch where this was all virtual. But demo day is at the end of the program. Every company, every startup from the cohort does basically a 1-minute elevator pitch. And YC has this network of VCs, angel investors, hundreds and hundreds of people that sit in and listen to every pitch. And if one seems to fit their particular niche of investing, then they connect you with them. And so first and foremost, they provided the guidance and the platform to raise our seed round. So we raised $2.2 million. And that round was led by Justin Kan, who is the founder of Twitch, the gaming streaming company that got bought by Amazon for $1 billion. So pretty successful.
So he was your advisor?
Our advisor was Michael Seibel, who also happens to be the president of Y Combinator.
Okay.
Yeah, if you look him up, he's got a lot of awesome talks on YouTube and a lot of great advice to give.
What was the most valuable piece of advice you got from him?
Jason and Nick would be the best people, Jason, Nick, and Jeremy, to give that. But I would have to say from my secondhand account is talk to your customers. Talk to your customers. Get on the phone, make phone calls, even if it's weird. You're calling people you've never spoken to and saying, hey, I'm the founder of XYZ. I know that you're using my product. Would love to talk to you about it. And surprisingly, a lot of people are not only excited, but flattered that you're calling. And you just learn so much. It's really insane.
So now that you guys have raised money, and I assume you have a board of advisors that help you guys quarterly along with the goals, the macro goals of the business. Has that at any point clashed with the vision of the 2 founders, considering they're very young guys? And I would imagine much of the board is a set of seasoned veterans in the VC space and in Silicon Valley in general.
So we've actually been fortunate, and because we've always had our hardware revenue, we've been able to be profitable since the beginning, which is unique in tech. And that gives us leverage when it comes to raising money, and we've never had to take money from anybody that we didn't absolutely want to be working with. And so your question about how has that worked, it not necessarily applicable in terms of has there been any clashes, because we haven't brought anybody on in that capacity. But as we continue to grow and we raise, these formal Series A, Series B, Series C, at some point, yes, these institutional VCs are going to require a seat on the board. And we've heard the stories about Uber and WeWork and how these really driven founders, sometimes they have their own ideas about growth that maybe doesn't necessarily jive with the ideas of a traditional VC. So we're very aware of that. We've got some really great people on our team. Particularly Jeremy, again, is a seasoned entrepreneur and really thinks about these kinds of things. And we're just very careful about who we get involved with and who we let into the business.
What is the goal for the Series A? How are you guys trying to use that capital to grow the business more, build new product, or hire on? What's the goal there?
Yeah. So without, giving away too much information, at a high level, SaaS companies generally grow by hiring account executives, which are salespeople, and software engineers. So people to sell the platform and then people to continue to build the platform. More ability to get into in-person events and conferences and have the team travel around and do cold outreach, business development, that kind of thing. Pretty standard. How are you going to use the money is just build a better platform, build more features that our customers want, and then hire more account executives to be able to sell to more customers.
As you look to bring on account executives, looking back, who was a major customer that really changed the course of your business, and who is a goal customer that you would love to secure?
That's a great question, Noah. Without providing specific names, what I can say is customers who had like more enterprise level customers. So we were selling the Teams platform to SMBs, small, medium sized businesses at the beginning. So people with teams from 5 to 50 people. But once we started to have a platform that was stable enough and had enough, the servers were functional, there was data security and things like that, we could start supporting larger teams. And larger teams and larger companies have much more complex business systems. So integrations with CRMs, you need to integrate with a CRM so that all of our leads can be instantly exported into our database of leads. Customers who said, hey, I don't want to do a CSV import or create everyone's profile one at a time. I need you to connect with our HR platform like Microsoft Dynamics or Workday.com, and in one click have all of my employees from the HR software show up as digital business cards. So it's not necessarily like any one particular customer changed the trajectory for us. It was all the customers and asking what they need, what they're using, how they're using it, that allowed us to refine the platform and build features that really provide value. And then you ask, what's a goal customer? Well, particularly here, we're big fans of professional sports. So we now cater to 30% of the NBA, right? So several teams are using Popl Teams as their digital business card solution for their entire back end. So those were big for us.
Question for you there.
Yeah.
So when you think of an NBA team, it seems like their brand is already readily out there. Who within the organization is using Popl, and how does it affect their business?
It's not like it's LeBron James and the players of the organization. It's the administration. So anybody who sits behind a desk and does normal work every single day is a candidate for this, but particularly it's customer-facing employees, right? So anyone who's doing sales, for sure. That's always like the most obvious organization or team within a large organization. People who are literally interacting with customers day in, day out. People who have been given a box of paper business cards every year for the past 20 years and then just put it in their drawer and forget to bring it to a conference, right? So, and then go to an event and say, what's your email address? And type it in, and then come back and have a stack of paper business cards that they have to manually type into their computer as a salesperson. So that marketing teams, especially field marketing, people who are going to conferences, setting up events, generating leads, these are sort of our bread and butter when it comes to who at your organization should be using digital business cards. But what's crazy about our industry, and they say a common phrase you'll hear when it comes to SaaS and startups is product market fit. And what that means is like finding a particular market that your product serves better than any other, and then narrowing down and getting really deep instead of really wide across different markets. But what's crazy about our product is that everybody uses digital business cards. So we're selling our product to NBA teams, to hospitals, to doctors, to lawyers, to realtors. Like, there's really no specific industry who we can say value or benefits from this tool any more than any other. At the end of the day, what we're doing, and the mission at Popl, is to allow professionals to connect instantly and effortlessly and to create more connections. at the end of the day, we're allowing people to connect without the work. We like to say we're taking the work out of networking and automating everything. So we have automated text messages, follow-ups, things like that. Netting? Yeah, you're just netting. You're not networking. You're just netting. We're going to bring Noah on for the marketing department. New slogan.
Hey, I like it. It's very clear from the onset that the primary business model was a physical product sold through e-commerce, right? And it's very easy to figure out how does that business model actually operate. So what is the current business model for the enterprise solution? How is that priced? What type of, well, you mentioned product market fit, right? Like how does that tie into the commercial or enterprise business model that you guys are now operating?
Yeah, definitely. So we still have a D2C component of our business where we have Facebook ads and Instagram ads that drive people to our Shopify website where we sell products. Then we have our mobile app, which has its own kind of like consumer-focused software funnel of its own. And then we have the enterprise side of the business, which is our Popl Teams dashboard. And the way the Popl Teams revenue works is it's a tiered pricing system based on how many team members you have in your organization. So starting with one team member, that's going to be the most expensive per user per month pricing that you can get, right? As you build your team and you add more members, the price per member per month goes down. So the larger your team, the less you're spending per person, but obviously the larger your team, the more people you have, so the more you're spending in total. So we obviously want to bring on larger teams. And it's either a monthly or an annual subscription. You can go to our website and sign up for Popl Teams on your own. You don't necessarily have to get a demo, like a Zoom call demo with one of our account executives. But obviously for our larger accounts, we need to put you on a demo, make sure you understand the value. And then once we sell you and once you're committed, we want to make sure you're successful. So our customer success team is there making sure everybody on your team is getting value. They know how the platform works, etc. But you can sign up monthly on your own. If you go through a demo, our goal is to lock you in for as long as possible, right? So we have discounts if you commit to an annual contract or a 2-year contract, or however. The best salesperson is the one who can lock a company in for the most amount of years up front, right? So that's the way that works, and that's pretty typical within enterprise software.
You can see how from a sales perspective at a trade show, I mean, with the experiences you've had, I'd imagine it's so helpful to have something like this and pop it right into a CRM with the customers that you're meeting.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. When you walk away from a trade show and you have a rubber band full of business cards, and then you got to go input them manually into a CRM, it takes a lot of time. You got to have days prepared following trade shows to make sure that you're doing the right things to follow up. So that actually brings me to an interesting question. So you talked about connecting Popl into a CRM process. Is there any ability to, let's say you're using it in a sales atmosphere or using it for a trade show, to mark maybe who have you contacted, mark, is this a warm lead? Is this a hot lead? Or kind of denote it in your company terms throughout your own personalized deal process. Is that a part of Popl, or is that a part of what you integrate into the CRM, or how do you make it easy for your customers?
I think you just found another potential customer right here.
I know. I'm clearly talking to a sales guy.
Yes, you are.
Yep, I know it. A very talented sales guy at that. But that's a really good question, Noah. So right now, that's what the native direct integration is for, right? So if we connect on Popl, if you scan my QR code or if you tap my device, our info is going to be exchanged. You're going to show up in my Popl contacts, which I can access individually through my app. My administrator can also access through the dashboard, along with the leads that all of my colleagues collected at an event or wherever we happen to be. And when that lead flows into Salesforce or whatever your CRM is, it's tagged as a Popl lead. It's also tagged as whichever salesperson got that lead. And so then once it's into your CRM, that's what CRMs are designed to do, is be able to bring customers through the pipeline, warm lead, open, close, etc. That's a little bit out of my wheelhouse. But at the moment, the advanced functionality that enterprise level companies expect from a CRM, we leave that to their CRM. There's a lot of SMBs who on our the demos that our account executives do, they'll ask, do you have a CRM? And they go, well, not really. I have like MailChimp or something like that. And in that case, we say, Popl can be your CRM. Call it a light CRM, right? It doesn't have all the crazy advanced, robust functionality of a Salesforce or a HubSpot, but it can certainly do a lot for a small to medium-sized business who really just needs basic aggregation and management of their leads.
What does your data on the back end look like? So I know you mentioned that you can mark that it's a Popl lead. So for example, do you have a full, data collection of saying this amount of Popl leads were generated for customers and these amount turned into closes that you can then present to a potential customer and say, hey, this is the ROI that you could potentially look for when using Popl at a trade show or something like that?
Yep, these are all things that are in the pipeline for sure. Again, the CRM and reporting functionality is always being built out every single day. New features are being added. And yeah, I could talk for days about this. And as the operations guy, when I talk about having the business maturing and developing and staying in my lane, I almost get sad sometimes that like I'll learn about this new feature that I simply can't be aware of at the onset, right? Because like the business is becoming so big, the departments are becoming so developed, and the teams that what I loved about being an entrepreneur early on, and especially at the beginning of Popl, is the flexibility and let's do this and everyone knows what's going on. But it's gotten to the point where I'm not even like the best person to tell you about the detailed functionality of the enterprise platform because my responsibility lies elsewhere within the company.
I love the story. I love what you guys have been doing. I knew you before Popl. I know Noah did as well, obviously, considering, you introduced us. But damn, what a ride it's been so far. And I'm proud of you to see what you guys are doing. It's great.
Thank you guys. I appreciate it. You guys are day ones, and it's always nice to like have friends who have like seen you go through the journey, and likewise for you guys. I'm so proud and excited and honored to be your friends and what we're all doing, and just like continuing to have no fear. And you know what? It's not even no fear in my opinion. It's facing those fears, right? It's like, I know what scares me and I'm going to head straight on into that fear, and whatever happens, happens, but I'm going to come out stronger, better, and more successful. And I know it because there's no other option. So I appreciate you guys.
Absolutely. And I think when you talk about, running head on to those fears, on the other side of that fear is, your passion and your purpose. So you're what, 27, 28 years old?
I just turned 30.
Turned 30? You don't look it. You don't look a day over 26, but you're 30 years old. You're the VP of ops for a company that just could be an absolute unicorn. And I know that you have a purpose behind that. So what fulfills you every day knowing, what Popl does for the world, and what do you think that impact looks like coming directly from you?
Yeah. So I guess to transition from the fear thing, there's a quote that says, the treasure I desire is in the cave that I fear. And that has been what's driven me since like the early days of entrepreneurship. The definition of the treasure has changed. At the beginning, treasure meant a Lamborghini and hitting golf balls off of a yacht, and just purely money, without understanding that money is a byproduct and money is a tool. But what I was really seeking was freedom and an extraordinary life where I got to do what I want when I wanted and to feel fulfilled in the process. I recently learned about the Japanese philosophy called Ikigai. And someone introduced this to me on my podcast, Spark Seekers, which focuses on identifying people's sparks and what drove them to be where they are and be who they are. And so this is pretty much exactly what you're asking here. And Ikigai is, you can think of it as an Venn diagram of 4 components. What am I good at? What do I like doing? What brings me money? And what makes the world a better place? Each of those is a circle. And in the middle is your Ikigai. Call it your spark, your purpose, your calling. Different cultures have called it different things over the years, but that's what you want to find. And for me, Popl allows me to combine all those things. So like the sociability aspect of it. I love meeting people. I love making friends. I love making meaningful connections and having meaningful conversations. So there's that. I love building businesses. This is a business that helps provide connections and bring people together. So there's that. The business is very profitable and it's making the world a better place. So for me, it's all aligned. And I love creative problem solving, and my outlet for problem solving has generally been physical products. So I'm like this big gadget guy and people tease me. My room's all automated, like the robot's moving around, the lights are flashing, the coffee machine's coming on in the morning, my bed's warming up, like all this stuff. Because when I think of a problem that I have, I either create a solution myself or I go find the person that has and I buy that product. And so Popl has allowed me to do that in developing and iterating the core solution of Popl into different embodiments, different tools, ultimately that they all do the same thing. They help connect people and bring people together and create these conversations.
I really appreciate you sharing that, concept with us. I think that's a really cool tool that a lot of people can take into account. And, just 5-6 years ago, you were a mechanical engineering student. And, some days you may wake up and say, there were great things about that program that helped you become who you are today. And there's some days you might say, I'm never using any of that stuff, so it was a waste of time. But if you were to give advice to someone who might be in their 3rd year of a mechanical engineering program and they want to find their Ikigai, what's one piece of advice that you could give to them to find that?
I would say that if you feel like you're doing it just to do it because you're in too deep, right? You're in your 3rd year. It's like, oh man, I'm almost like, it would be a waste to throw out the progress that I've made. If you're doing it because of that or because someone else told you that it makes the most sense for you, but it doesn't feel quite right, I would tell you to stop. I would tell you to pause, take a moment to think, to reevaluate. If that means take a semester or a year and go volunteer, go start a business, go network, go meet people, go find a mentor, and kind of reset and reevaluate, because there's no need to be in a rush. You've got your entire life ahead of you to be in the wrong profession. You've also got your entire life ahead of you to do incredible things, build the life that you want, pursue your passions. And for a lot of us, it's like, what are my passions? That's a tough question. A good place to start is what are not my passions, and then go try a bunch of things. What we have and what I like to go back to are instincts. So instincts are our primal human animalistic drives, the things that we do without really thinking about them unconsciously. And if you go back to your childhood, there's things that you've done and you continue to do, inclinations that you had that your peers didn't do, right? Like Johnny liked to draw and Sally liked to dance, or whatever it may be. And as we get older, we lose these things. Society has, built this world where you go to school and everyone learns the same thing. And at some point, we start to lose what made us unique. And so try to remember what sparks you, what drives you. And then from there, write down things that are related to that, things that have intrigued you, that have interested you, and take that time and then go experiment, go make mistakes, but don't get so caught up on the path that you're on simply because it seems to make the most sense or someone told you to do it. In my case, I learned a lot with the mechanical engineering curriculum. I used very little of it. What it taught me mostly was how to like stick through difficult times with difficult problems, even if it's not something that necessarily makes you happy. And so I don't regret it. I think if I could have gone back and spoken to my younger self, I would have maybe reevaluated and done things a little bit differently. But you've got plenty of time, and there's just so much to do, and you just got to try the things that excite you, and don't be afraid to be bad at something. All right, because if you haven't done it, you're probably not going to be good at it. So you just need to try it. You're going to fail. You're not going to be good at it. But if it seems fun and exciting, then that might be the clue that could be your spark. And there is no one spark. You might have multiple ones, but that's probably what I would say to anybody in that position.
That's some awesome advice. As we approach an hour of recording, we always like to ask all of our guests what's their one no fear moment that they've had, whether it's early in your life, middle in your life, at this point in your life, that's really catapulted you to the point where you are today and is a defining portion of your embodiment of self today.
My biggest no fear moment was packing my bags and moving across the country. I think that's another really important thing for people to do is like leave their hometown where they're comfortable. It goes along with facing your fears because what's comfortable is generally the opposite of what scares you. And I was definitely scared, but coming out here has been such a life-changing experience for me. It was definitely a pivotal moment, and facing my fears is just something that I've always done, and that was probably the biggest one. And I haven't looked back since, and everything has been really awesome.
Bryce, you're a terrific friend, a terrific entrepreneur, and a terrific mind, and we really appreciate you coming on today. You really present yourself very eloquently, and we really appreciate you being able to share your stories with our viewers. So thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for having me. I'm honored. I'm grateful. I appreciate you guys immensely. What you guys are doing is really special, providing like inspiration, insight, and valuable lessons to young people who don't know what they want necessarily. To be able to have this like line of communication to people that they don't know, to inspire, to teach, to educate, is really awesome. So I'm really excited to see where you guys continue to take this, and hopefully I can come back for episode 400 and talk about the next phase and everything that's happened since and the next no fear moment.
Much appreciated, Bryce. Just for our viewers, where can they find you?
So you can follow me on Instagram. That's where I like to hang out, at Bryce Alsten, BryceAlsten. Follow Popl on Instagram, at Popl. You can follow the Spark Seekers podcast on Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, all the streaming platforms. That's Spark Seekers podcast. And if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, I don't hang out there, but you can do that too. Again, Bryce Alsten.
Appreciate it, Bryce. Thanks for hopping on.
Absolutely. Thank you, boys. Appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the No Fear podcast, brought to you by Alsten Hughes. For more information about our show, visit thenofearpodcast.com. If you enjoy this podcast, be sure to subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. You can also connect with us on LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, or TikTok for insights into future episodes.